Welcome to Good Game, I'm Hex.
And I'm Bajo.
This week it's sequels, prequels, and somewhere in the middle equals, starting with a wander through Wasteland 2.
And where can the Borderlands franchise take us next? Why, to the moon, of course, in the pre-sequel.
Any moon wizards?
No.
Crime about to commence. Best outcome achieved.
Plus, Goose takes us to the retro future to try and survive the isolation of the new Alien game.
But before all that, can you name the game for this week?
Blizzard Entertainment has cancelled its long-anticipated MMORPG Titan. While never officially announced, it's been believed that the World of Warcraft successor had been in development for up to 7 years. In a recent interview, Blizzard CEO Mike Morhaime attributed the cancellation to the team being unable to find the fun in this new MMO. Titan now joins the studio's other high-profile projects to be abandoned, Warcraft Adventures
Blackmore! Tonight you sleep in hell.
and StarCraft Ghost.
Hey, Sarge, what's with the ghost?
You got me.
PlayStation Home will see a worldwide shutdown on the 31st of March 2015. The avatar-based social space launched for PS3 in 2008 and had received continual support and updates from Sony as recently as March this year. Two big hitters in the gaming industry have taken steps towards better transparency when dealing with sponsored content. Valve Corporation recently introduced a curator service to its Steam platform, allowing companies to promote and recommend games. Post-launch alterations to the curator policies now mean that partakers must divulge any compensation received for promoting a game on the service. Video streaming website Twitch has also addressed the issue. Labels have been introduced to indicate when a video has been sponsored by a third party. And that's all the news for this week.
Thanks, Goose. Now it's time to explore the wild, wild west of the future as we venture out into the wasteland.
What comes after the end? I don't know. Now, everything was gone. They helped the survivors defend their homes. And for that, they earned a new name. A proud name. The Desert Rangers.
Wasteland may have been the inspiration for the blockbuster Fallout series, but mainstream publishers just weren't interested in bringing it back. But luckily for In Exile Entertainment, fandom has a long half-life, and there were more than enough gamers out there willing to pre-fund its production.
You control a party of desert rangers, the lawmen and women who patrol the mutant-infested wilderness of post-nuclear America.
Investigating his death will be your first duty as a desert ranger.
Your rookie squad is dropped right in the deep end, investigating a murder and racing to protect besieged outposts from raiders
Help anyone!
and giant mutant rabbits.
It's a funny game at times. What I like most about this is, at its core, Wasteland 2 is way more hardcore than the last couple of Fallouts. In a callback to the original XCOM, you can only move and fire if you have enough action points to do so. Friendly fire can ruin your day, and some rangers are liable to lose their cool and go berserk.
Badly wounded rangers will bleed out, so having at least one medic on your team is vital. You really do want the right mix of skills across your party.
Strangely, I found this reminded me of FTL a little bit, just because there are those times where you lose your Top Gun pilot without warning.
Yeah, and just like FTL, you have a lot of needs to balance, and it just never feels like you have enough resources to go around.
Yeah, it's great how they use the game mechanics to build up tension like that. Not only do your firearms have a percentage chance to miss, they have a percentage chance to jam. Naturally, this always happens at the worst possible moment. Being forced to explore underground tunnels full of poison gas might seem cheap, but again, it cranks up the tension.
Okay, smash this thing. Let's go party!
You do feel like you're rewarded for investing in certain skills, like hard R's, which can get you out of sticky situations through the power of intimidation alone.
In the original Wasteland, there was a joke skill called Toaster Repair, which was completely pointless, but now it actually does something. Pass the skill check, and every toaster you find is a little treasure chest.
The spread of skills is a tad vexing though. I mean, there are several different types of treasure chests, each requiring either lockpicking or safe cracking or computer hacking or toaster repair. And if you don't have that skill, then no loot for you.
At least the complexity is managed well. The menus and hotkeys are well designed and all the icons are easy to read.
They've paid a lot of attention to building up the atmosphere too. From the outset, the steady hum of radio chatter builds and compounds the tension.
Every time we end a life in this god-forsaken world, we end misery.
Just like in a lot of JRPGs, there is limited voice acting for key events and text for the rest. It works well, and the quality of both the writing and the voice acting is superb.
By far the best voice in the game though is the goat. So authentic.
I like how some of these future peeps worship cats too. Very spiritual, such worship. Wow.
The Wasteland is a cruel and unforgiving place. You can die at any time without warning, but I just could not bring myself to do a permadeath Iron Man run, Hex.
Watch out for those rabbits. They've got big, nasty teeth.
Every time one of my rangers got killed or even poisoned, I felt compelled to reload from the last save.
Wasteland 2 was made in Unity, and the graphics aren't top of the line, but they are good enough, and the game will run on a lot of older systems too.
Plus, once you get immersed, you barely even notice. This is a game about storytelling and themes and combat mechanics. It's not a graphical show pony, but it doesn't try to be.
Most of all, Wasteland 2 is uncompromising. If you have fond memories of Wasteland or Fallout 1 and 2, then this game is made for you. I'm giving it 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that old school feel, but the presentation is right up to date. I'm giving it 8.
I fell in love with a bunch of games, I think, over the years, but the first one I really remember me spending an awful lot of money, or an awful lot of my parents' money on, was Final Fight. I'd played the fighting games before then and there'd been side-scrolling beat-em-ups that I enjoyed, but there was something about Final Fight, like the graphics at the time were just incredible. The weight of the characters and the weight of the combat was absolutely perfect. The music, I mean, gosh, I don't know whether anybody's played the Mega CD version where they re-recorded the soundtrack with like a full band. That is absolutely incredible and it still stands up today. I just pumped like 10p after 10p into the machine, and the first time I beat it was while I was on holiday, and by the time I'd got to the end of it, I had a crowd of people around me because nobody had seen anybody beat the game before, and to finally get there, like I felt like an absolute hero. It was amazing.
Alien Isolation turns its back on the blazing gunfire of last year's Colonial Marines and instead aims to recreate the chilling terror and lo-fi technology of the 1979 original film. And fortunately, it delivers on both with a horror game that literally has atmosphere coming out of the walls.
This is about survival. Do you understand?
The game's setting slots neatly in between the first and second film. You play Amanda Ripley, daughter of the famous alien-exterminating Ellen. Unfortunately, her mum's still floating through space somewhere after barely surviving the first encounter on the Nostromo, so you're on a mission to try and track her down.
I know why you're working in the region where she went missing.
It's a nice simple premise that pays regular homage to the original film, and I really connected with Amanda and her struggle regardless of her inevitably doomed mission.
It's a life form, an unknown type, some kind of alien organism.
Despite being set in the far future, this is based off the 70s interpretation, which means technology is all very old school. Everywhere you look, you'll see large clunky buttons, tape recorders, and flickery CRT TVs. Everything feels suitably dated, and as a fan of the film, I love this. It all has a tactile aesthetic and feels far more realistic than the usual chromy, hologram sci-fi stuff we're used to seeing these days. Everything about the interiors feels researched and realised. There are layers upon layers of grills, pipes, swinging lights, and moody smoke bringing each location to life. And the corridors, great corridors, amazing corridors, corridors of the year. The game has a wonderfully cinematic intro with a deliberate slow pace to let you soak it all in. And in that first hour or so, you really feel the tension start to build as you face off against nothing but noises and shadows. But while there's no monster moment early on, you do get to square up against that all too familiar survival horror foe, locked doors.
Doesn't anything here work?
And Alien Isolation has perhaps the greatest variety of locked doors I've ever encountered. There are the classics like the keypad and keycard locks, some that require more muscle like these door clampy things, some that need power restored, and others you'll need to hack. Thankfully, you do eventually encounter actual enemies.
Come on, we don't want to piss him off.
And I'm certainly guilty of jumping the first time I was caught by the alien. But this death also gave me my first look at the reload options, which I soon came to realise are just as retro and clunky as the old analog phones that you save the game with. There's no in-game autosave, not even after key events like cutscenes.
Stay still.
So you're often forced to sit through the same conversations, staged action, or slow-paced puzzles when you already know the outcome. Nothing undermines believability like watching scripted events play out over and over again. But on the plus side, this system does keep the stakes and heart rate high throughout the game, which is commendable considering the limited enemy types. What this game does best is create moments of genuine terror. Amanda is regularly being hunted down by more powerful foes. This forces her to creep about, desperately trying to avoid direct conflict, because it usually just means instant death. This style of play is a perfect fit for the franchise, and continues to feel interesting and unique for a decent portion of the game. Naturally, you do get some tools that make surviving a little bit easier. The most useful being the motion detector.
Some kind of tracker.
And you'll spend a lot of time with this out, slowly moving and listening out for that iconic beep to send you scurrying to the nearest hiding spot. There's also a neat little focus pull trick that adds to the drama when you're playing cat and mouse with the alien. As you scavenge around, you'll find parts to build a few other gadgets, but these are mostly geared around distracting enemies and helping you escape. Because the game is at its best when you're kept to a disadvantage, as this lack of power just adds to the level of fear. Meanwhile, the creature design of the xenomorph is spot on as it slinks in and out of the ceiling or it darts around a corner. Ugh. And the moments when you can hear it running up behind you or climbing through the ceiling are just terrifying. What I wasn't expecting to encounter in this game was the station's synthetics, which are equally distressing. The way they casually work away in the dark with their freaky glowing eyes, and how they politely inform you of your infractions while they're trying to bash you to death. They're a nice way to break up the enemy encounters, as I would inevitably forget I'm being stalked by this perfect specimen until it would suddenly reappear and I'd have to go through that initial moment of terror again. And while the game creates these amazing moments of tension, these highlights are consistently undermined. The main problem being that these scares are padded out with far too much corridor walking and door unlocking filler. There's also a handful of bizarre choices that feel particularly ridiculous within a survival setting. Why can't I pick up this gun? Why? It's right there! Just pick it up! There's an alien! Pick up the gun! Stop kicking it! And things like this expose the game's inner workings and just kill off a lot of that atmosphere the game's worked so hard to build. Ultimately, after the initial few exhilarating hours spent cowering under desks and in lockers, the magic just starts to wear off. Sure, the stress level remains, but it becomes less about the scares, replaced with a fear of being forced to spend more time repeating the same section of the game. And for each genuine scare I experienced, there were a handful of moments where the synthetics or the alien AI would just be comically unaware of me.
Hi there.
Alien Isolation is trying just so hard to be the perfect Alien game that it genuinely pains me to highlight its glaring flaws. But when I realised I was reliving so many moments from one of my favourite films, I happily looked past these and just gave in to the cinematic terror. It was a bold gamble developing such a focused Alien game, but one that I believe paid off. It's an experience long overdue for fans of the film, and for anyone who isn't, Isolation should still be admired for its purity. I'm giving it an 8.
Hex, we have to go back.
What? Where?
Back to the pre-sequel. Borderlands the pre-sequel is exactly that, a prelude to 2012's Borderlands 2. When the game starts, it's revealed that the 4 heroes of the original Borderlands have captured handsome Jack's lieutenants.
You've got some explaining to do, Tiger.
As enemy NPCs from previous games in the series, they're all familiar faces. There's Athena, the shield-toting gladiator, gruff merc Wilhelm, gun-slinging Sheriff Nisha, and the robot we love to hate, Claptrap. These are our new heroes on this adventure.
Yes, this time you're the bad guy. As Athena is held at gunpoint, she reminisces about Jack's fall into villainous madness.
That is a long story.
And it's these stories from the past that make up the bulk of the gameplay.
I know it's not a completely original story mechanic, but I really liked it in the pre-sequel. It was nice having characters from present time humorously chiming in.
You got to ride jump pads?
I never got to ride a jump pad.
I also witnessed the deaths of many innocent people.
But jump pads, though.
And Jack is such a great villain in 2, but at the start of this game, he's just a cheeky, fun renegade.
Yeah, he's a bit of a Han Solo character.
Yeah. Thank you. Sorry. Heart's pounding. Never been shot at before. Kind of fun, actually.
And even though you're expecting it to happen, watching his descent is really upsetting.
Even though he is certainly maladjusted, he's not inherently evil, and that makes him a much more interesting character to play alongside.
The main threat of this game is General Zarpedon and her Lost Legion troops.
Hello, Jack.
Having hijacked Hyperion's Helios station, they set out to destroy Pandora's moon, Elpis, with the station's massive laser.
While they insist it's for the greater good, Jack and co are unconvinced.
There are innocent people on Elpis, you asshole!
Yes, there are.
Okay, this chick's a nutbag.
The intro cutscene I thought was a little underwhelming, Bajo. It just doesn't have that same pizzazz as its predecessors.
Yeah, it does set up the story well enough though, and I'd argue that the first hour of gameplay is better than the first hour of gameplay in the last 2 Borderlands games.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, it's straight into the action with what Borderlands does best. Shooties.
Shooties indeed, Hex. Borderlands is guns, and loot, and more guns, and crazy enemies.
I'm the one all the cool imaginary people want to hang out with.
And bigger guns, and bigger baddies. And did I mention the guns?
Yes, you did. Look, should we just get this out of the way with a gun montage?
Montage away.
Oh, hello, delightful gun. Roll the numbers. Pew pew, pew pew pew. Sap. Would you like some of this? Oh, yeah.
All done?
Not quite, Hex, because allow me to present you the greatest thing to happen in video games in 2014, and perhaps ever. Ladies and gentlemen, the talking Frosty Boganella.
Want some? Oh, yeah! Put another in me! Wear that on your head! Pop that, you dickhead! See you around, mate. That was f***ing fun!
This is an amazing piece of game design. I love it when someone else in your party has it and you forget, and then after a while you just hear it kind of reloading off to the side.
It's incessant, isn't it? But enough about guns.
Yes, thank you for indulging us. While there's plenty of familiar stuff, there's quite a few things that make the pre-sequel a unique Borderlands experience.
Warning, entering vacuum.
The biggest difference being the low-gravity environments.
Yes. The majority of the game takes place on Elpis and the partially constructed Helios space station, and that means there's plenty of floaty action. Low
gravity adds some good elements to the gameplay. For starters, you can jump a lot higher and further, doubly so with a little help from your oxygen tank jetpack.
Oh dear. I'm not gonna make it.
Jetpacks, Hex, always fun.
They are just the best, and they're not just a fun way to move around either. It adds a lot more verticality to combat. There have been jetpack troops and flying enemies in Borderlands in the past.
Oh, gross.
Ew.
Oh, he's got bad friends.
But now you're constantly under threat from airborne foes. It's intense.
Yeah, they can really get on top of you. The game encourages you to do the same though. There's jump pads and air geysers around which give you a nice lofty entrance into combat.
But the coolest thing to come out of all of this is undoubtedly the ground slam attack. Once you're up in the air, you can hold crouch to come screaming back to the surface, causing damage based on your drop distance. Splat!
I got a mod that causes corrosive damage when you do a slam.
Oh yeah?
It makes a fart noise on impact. Hilarious, although it did ruin a few of the conversations because I couldn't hear the dialogue over the farts.
Oh, shame. It does raise a good point though. With so much wild stuff going on in combat, it can get a little scrappy at times. Between the endless supply of creative weapons and elemental effects, it's mayhem.
They've also introduced cryo damage. It works as you'd expect, freeze and smash, and the ice particle effect is beautiful. I was a bit disappointed that none of the cool fabric effects from Borderlands 2 were present.
Yeah, I didn't notice them either. The swishy liquid effects are still there, but not a piece of cloth inside Bajo. Upsetting.
Indeed. All of the familiar RPG elements are back, with each class having multiple skill trees, and class abilities are of course present. Wilhelm has drone twins.
Where they go?
One attacks enemies while the other one stays overhead and heals.
Yeah, pretty cool, but nowhere near as handy as the ladies of the court. Nisha's ability slows time, allowing you to dish out huge damage without missing a shot.
You poor bastard.
However, I spent most of my time playing as Athena. She has a shield that absorbs incoming damage, and then she hurls it back at baddies for massive damage. That's pretty badass.
All the characters are pretty great, but I just had to choose Claptrap.
Let's get this party started!
Give me an option to play as an annoying robot? Easy decision. And I love how when you're selecting him, it pops up multiple warnings saying, "Are you sure? This is a really annoying character to play." But that's why I like him.
Can I just say, yeehaw!
A part of me was worried that I would actually find him a bit too frustrating, but I haven't got sick of him yet.
Yeah, I got sick of him when both you and Goose were playing as Claptrap. That's too much Claptrap. Plus, his special ability is randomized and generally ends up poorly for your fellow combatants.
Oh, you guys like shooting a lot? Fun circuit.
So frustrating.
Not to mention the ruining of a certain someone's beautiful slow pans.
This game does the best sci-fi art sequences. Oh, it's beautiful.
Good.
What are you doing?
Just chilling out.
Well, that just looks weird.
We're robots.
Robo-bopping is definitely my new favourite thing, but we should talk about the world, Hex.
Oh, it's beautifully crafted, isn't it? In spite of there only being 2 main land masses, there's great diversity to the environments that you'll come across. From the hazardous volcanic lunar surface,
Oh, crap!
to the science labs and biodomes of the Hyperion Station.
They squeezed a lot out of these 2 locations, and getting around the environments is fun. I do like the vehicle combat, but I still find them quite awkward to control.
Yeah, I think it's purposefully chaotic, and it suits the manic style of the rest of the game.
Yeah. I do like the new hoverbike thing, though. It takes full advantage of the low gravity.
Airtime! The main town this time around is Concordia. It's a bona fide settlement with heaps of NPCs just walking around and doing their thing.
I remember with the first Borderlands game wishing that it had a more believable sci-fi world wrapped around it, and it's good to see that they embraced that with 2, and then again here in the pre-sequel.
Yeah, I agree. There are heaps of familiar faces around, and also some familiar helmets.
Go see if they'll help.
Let's go.
Yeah, totally. That's awesome.
Plus, you get a fantastic view of Pandora and the Hyperion Station.
Concordia acts as a hub for a lot of the missions too. As is to be expected, there are plenty of zany and outright hilarious quests.
He died because he liked pizza. Makes you think, though. Or something. I don't know, I just felt like saying something.
However, the bulk of the work you'll be doing is the age-old button press-a-thon and collectorama.
There she blows.
But again, the presentation and delivery of these is often what saves them from feeling too strenuous.
To accompany these side quests is a massive story campaign with plenty of nods to fans of the series, which we won't spoil for you.
There's a vault.
The important thing is that there's a stack of content and none of it feels half-baked.
Hypothesis? This will be frickin' sick!
I mean, any concerns we had of this not being a fully fledged Borderlands experience were quickly dispelled, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
Found 2 big chests. You enjoy that, guy?
I do love the generous loot flow of this game, but it can be a pain having to manage your inventory every 15 minutes.
Oh no, my inventory's full.
It's particularly stressful in multiplayer as you fight over loot. Goose is such a loot thief hex.
Oh, tell me about it.
I'm gonna win big.
It'll make sense.
Just take my money, Goose. I don't know that I wanted the mission. Is there any loot? Not anymore. No, Goose, no. No. No, you don't. No. Alrighty, I'm down. Oh, no. Help.
Oh, there's loot. Right, get back here.
Ding, ding, ding.
Just head over there. There's a couple of chests for you. There's nothing. Oh no, there's one over there. No! Oh, I'm not gonna make it! No! I got the I fell down.
Once again, the supporting characters add so much depth and humour to the world.
Everybody good? Nice to meet ya.
What did you think of all the Australian voices?
I was pleasantly surprised.
Me too.
Welcome to your death, landlubber.
I usually find it grating hearing one or two characters forcing a really ochre accent in a game, but the vast majority of characters in pre-sequel are voiced by Australians.
Oh, what a pleasant surprise.
Stay the Crow's hex is chock-a-block full of colloquialisms.
Fair dinkum. It's actually a really nice blend of caricature and more natural acting.
You'll have to input the correct sequence to shut off the flow.
At first I did kind of feel like I was in an episode of Blinky Bill. Well, an adults-only version of it anyway.
Kill it. Hack it to pieces. Shred it with bullets. Kill.
But after a while you don't even notice it, and it was actually really cool to have all those familiar cultural references too.
Well, I just ate, but let's boogie!
Whoa. Oh my
Ned
God.
Kelly.
It is Ned Kelly.
Sorry, Red Belly.
Red Belly.
His name is Red Belly.
The pre-sequel is largely homegrown, with co-developer 2K Australia working on the game out of Canberra. We caught up with a couple of the devs who were in town recently, and they talked about how this Aussie-infused design came to be.
When we started, we weren't planning on bringing sort of an Australian flavour. But the story is that we did our first lot of scratch recordings. We want to record temporary VO so that we can start hearing the characters speak in the game before we've actually brought in the proper actors. And so we use people from around the office to do the scratch VO. And so we've suddenly got all these really bad Australian voice actors in the game.
Yeah. Your point?
Gearbox loved it so much that they, said, "Why aren't you just making these characters Australian?" And we thought, we're Australian, we're making part of this game. Maybe we should do that. And it just basically snowballed from there.
I love the fact, maybe more than anything else, that the moon is so Australia.
Can't remember her name now. Used to call her the Jolly Swag Man.
We call the moon up over instead of down under. We call various locations around the world by kind of Australian sounding names like Backaburk and Burra. And there are characters and stories in the game, especially on the moon, that are sort of derived from Australian culture and Australian tales and legends that we have.
The best maid in all the world sent it to me. It's a tucker bag. Says there's a jumbuck inside.
It all feels kind of dangerous and fun and different. That really comes from the guys in 2K Australia. They really brought a lot of interesting, fun personality to the game while still maintaining the core of a Borderlands game.
As fun as it all is, it serves a purpose beyond just being relatable to Australians. It makes Elpis feel like a world all on its own, not just an extension of Pandora.
Thank you for visiting the offices of the Mayor. We hope you enjoyed your bureaucratic interactions.
Now, I'll be interested to see how well this game is received overseas with such a strong Aussie flavour, particularly in the sense of humour.
Initiating countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 2.5, 2 1/4, and then 1 go. And they're off.
I love playing this on PC, but it's also a shame that it's not on current-gen consoles.
Yeah, and we haven't seen how it runs on the 360 or the PS3 either. For the most part, it runs silky smooth, but we did encounter some pretty serious frame rate drops in multiplayer.
They only lasted around 3 or 4 seconds each time, but it's enough to get annoying. We couldn't quite pinpoint what the issue was in the settings, but it seemed to be when there were heaps of particles on screen. Anyway, what are you going to give this, Bajo?
I just love the humour of this game so much, and it's just so frantic. Everything is just go, go, go. Even the menus are all snappy. Hand in a quest, next thing, pick up a gun, reload. I loved it, Hex. I'm giving it 9 out of 10.
Yeah, when it comes down to it, Borderlands strives to be fun, and the pre-sequel, above all else, is an absolute blast. So I'm going to give it 9 as well.
That's a grenade, run away! I deserve that. Money!
So, did you name the game for this week? It was The Fifth Element, the game. Released in 1998 for both PlayStation and Windows, you could play as Corbin Dallas or Lilu through various action scenes inspired by the film. And it's named the game for this week because it features the voice of actor Ian Holm, whose character Ash returns in the DLC for Alien Isolation.
Next week on the show, a game that has dominated the conversation at the GG lunch table, Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor.
So good. And we pick up our brown pants from the cleaners and settle in for some scares with The Evil Within.
And over on Spawn Point, our show for younger gamers on ABC3 this weekend, Super Smash Bros. Gets shrunk down to 3DS size.
Until next time, Bajo out.
Hex out. Can't stop thinking about that bogan gun.
Yeah.
I keep repeating stuff that it says around the office and then realising how offensive it is.
It makes me a proud Australian.
Yeah.
And that bogan gun has gone out to the world. I was born in New Zealand.